Hey guys, it's FilterSC here, and I am back for episode number 6 of my Terran Heart of the Swarm Bronze to Master series. In this particular episode, we're going to pull things back a little bit and take a look at things from a little bit of a different perspective. Now, for this particular episode, it's going to be a little bit different in terms of format here. What I'm going to talk about here is what I call slump breaking, and understanding why you're losing so many games all of a sudden, even though you don't feel like necessarily your play is degraded that much. So what happened to me was I was feeling a little bit tired, and I just wasn't playing up to par, and I lost a lot of games. This was all on my stream, so if anybody caught that, you would have seen this happen, and it was pretty disheartening. You can see out of the 20 or so games that show up here, I only won 4 of them, and this streak was particularly nasty. You know, it just wasn't any fun, right? And this will happen to you a lot of the time. Now, what you want to do is try to work out of the slump, and sometimes you're just going to die to builds that kill you. You might get banely busted all the time. You might make the wrong read. There's all sorts of different reasons to lose a bunch of games. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to pull yourself back and start going, oh well, I need to change this. I need to change that. This isn't working. I need to start getting 15 missile turrets because I keep dying to Mutalisks, and you just start blindly getting turrets. You can't do that stuff. What you have to do is check your basics and see if maybe there's some things that have started to creep in terms of bad habits. Maybe there's a few flaws in your gameplay. Maybe things just aren't working out properly for you. And you really just want to go back and see maybe where some of the mistakes are showing up, and then just persevere and keep moving on, and eventually you'll end up busting out of your streak, right? You can see. I kept having a hard time, and then earlier today when I was playing, I was able to kind of break out of my streak pretty good. Very simple. And all that I was doing is I didn't completely change my builds. I made a few adjustments where, maybe things were killing me because of lack of map vision and stuff like that, but I wasn't completely overreacting. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go and take a look at some of the replays from when I was struggling, and then kind of contrast that to some of the replays where I started to play a little bit better. And just show you guys, it's all about going back to the basics. So this feels like a really good time to interlude and do this particular type of video. So I'm just going to jump into my replays, and we're going to look for some of these ones here. Alright. We got TBZ. Let's take a look at this and try to identify why I most likely lost this game, or in the case of if I won it, did I really deserve to win it. And it's just a really simple way of figuring out kind of how you were playing, and seeing how your mistakes were going. So again, I'll pull up the production tab, and all I'm doing is just throwing it on ×8 because I don't really care that much about the really early game, and I want to make sure I'm executing everything properly. Alright, so in this game I'm going for a Hellion Expand, which is, this is pulling it back. I'm going back to basics. This is a more Wings of Liberty style opener, but it's a very good one. So let's take a look and see how we do here. I'm just going to zoom in on my Hellions and see what I do with them. Alright, so a whole bunch of Lings, some half decent micro there, but you can see my SVs running around. Not bad. I lost a few workers to that, but overall, not too bad. Now, do I get anything done with these? Start to move out on the map, finish shooting him. Let's see. Alright, so right here, some bad decision making. I know the Zerg guy is on 2 base, and I haven't really killed all of his Zerglings, so why am I running my Hellions in? That just looks like a poor decision, when I have map control and I can deny his 3rd. So this doesn't make any sense. And I believe, if I remember correctly, I end up just losing all my Hellions. Yep, because he just makes a whole bunch of Lings. Well, I'll get a few drone kills and stuff there, but I lose map control. And I lose all my Hellions, which is not a smart play. And you can see behind, my macro is drunk. I haven't done anything. I just microed those Hellions to their death. Lots of energy on both my command centers. Got 3 mules available to pop. I have no extra barracks, no tech, no gas, nothing. Don't even have a wall in. Alright, so I start to go with the wall in. I'm going for my double engineering base. Oh, there goes my starport, extra barracks. I'm closing in on 10 minutes here, and I don't have much. I have almost nothing. Alright, so we're at 10 minutes. Let's take a look. 41 SCVs, and I only lost 3. So right away I can tell my worker production was really bad. I have too many mules on the field as well. It's just unacceptable. My upgrades, like, they're late. Starport is very late. You know, extra barracks, very, very late. Pretty clear that I made a bunch of mistakes in this game. Alright, so in terms of what to take away, this is where the game's not interesting to me anymore, when I'm trying to break out of a slump, right? Because I've already identified some major problems. My SCV production is not good, everything is late, and decision making is just not there. Very simple game. I don't know if I win or lose, I don't really care. At this point, I've identified some problems where, you know, just my core production in terms of my SPs wasn't up to par. That's why I ended up losing that game. So, pretty simple and straightforward. Let's see, what do we have here? TVP on Daybreak. Let's take a look at this, because I believe I remember what happens in this game. And he does the new DT drop, which is pretty cool. But we'll just take a look at my core mechanics and see what happens. Because I believe my core mechanics are just completely off when I was playing. And do I need to make any adjustments? Like in that last game, my decision making was bad and my macro was bad. I definitely did not play like a Masters player like I am in that game, right? Just wasn't up to par. So you can see I'm doing my usual reactor expand. Nothing out of the ordinary. Bunkers up nice and early. Positioning on the bunker is actually pretty bad. I would like to have it out in the middle. And you can see my opponent going for the Dark Shrine. That Warp Prism, definitely late. Very, very late actually. He should already be warping into my base, so his execution on this build is about a minute late. When I was playing this game though, I remember looking at him and going, okay, this looks like the DT expand. Or the DT drop. And I didn't react to it. I had a feeling, and I just didn't react to it. And he's textbook follow-up, Colossus double upgrades. Like, you can see his supply is low, but it's basically all probes because he doesn't need really that much defense. I can't push him. And, you know, engineering bays are late. Like, where's my defense against this drop? Why don't I have Marines? Why are these guys here? Like, I have this watchtower. I have this area of the map. You know, why don't I have some Marines in the back? It's completely unacceptable. So you can see the DTs warp in. I kill off the ones in the main, the one in the natural actually gets quite a bit of damage done because my scan's not available. And it finally is. Another DT warped into the main. No missile turrets gone up yet. No, that's 3 scans gone already. And I've lost 21 workers. So at this point the game is basically over, but let's take a look. 21, so 47. So my SP production is actually not too bad in this game. But my scouting is quite poor. However, yeah, no, I didn't get very far at all. So scouting is poor. Decision making was bad because I knew I had this watchtower at the time. So why I didn't have Marines defending against like a potentially either an Oracle or a DT drop is stupid to me. Yeah, I didn't defend it properly. Again, I don't need to go on. Obviously, this other guy just destroys me because he has Colossus out on time and he executes his build overall fairly well. So again, just another game where everything was behind. I didn't make the correct. I did make the correct read, but I didn't react to it. I had map control. There was no reason not to have my guys back in my main, right? And this is just all like one huge slump where I wasn't playing properly at all. Alright, so we got a TVZ on Star Station, a map I'm not necessarily too fond of. Both of us have the best, current best icon in the game, I see. Alright. So again, 23-minute game. Not too sure what happens in this one if I win or lose, but I just want to check my core, check my basics, and see kind of where my decision making was. Because I was struggling, and it's important to figure out why you're struggling. Was I struggling because my builds were bad? Well, my builds were fine, perfectly acceptable, they just weren't executed properly. It's all execution. I can't adjust a build to get faster detection or anything if I'm not executing it properly. So it's really important you go, okay, well I executed that poorly and I was not playing correct. Okay, so in this situation, he goes for a roach bust. I'm very, very slow to pull those. Just poor reaction time. Let's see how I deal with the crisis. You can see I'm going for a Hellion opener. I don't do anything with my Hellions. And get pinned to my base, take way too much damage. Completely unacceptable. Do I have a starport going up? Nope. Do I have engineering base going up? Nope. Supply dropping, because I'm getting myself supply blocked with losing all these depots. Alright. So the other guy did a roach push. Smartly he takes a third, although it wasn't saturated properly, but he has a good drone count. Alright, 40 SCVs, I lost 5 in the attack, so I missed 5. How's my tech? I have stim, just about finished. Combat shield, not even looking at it. No starport. My engineering bays are just going down now. Totally unacceptable. If I had have just repaired that bunker, I might have been in okay shape, but overall, like, past that point, my execution of my defense and execution of getting my tech and all that stuff up, totally unacceptable. And I will lose the game from here because I'm so far behind after that. If he had followed that up with like a big wind run by, or you know, a whole bunch of Zerglings and some Hellions or something, he would have done a ton of damage and killed me off. So again, when you go back to look at your own replays, remember what you're trying to do with your build, what you're trying to get, and kind of the timings of everything, and overall, like how close to that 100 food you are, how everything looks. Are you getting up to like 1,000 minerals and then sinking like 20 buildings down? Because if you are, you're not doing it the right way. That's not how you want to play the game at all, right? You want to play it in much better fashion. And sometimes you're just going to have bad streaks, right? And it's important to look at, you know, what am I doing wrong, and not get frustrated. Because as you get frustrated, you start to really mess up your builds and mess up your timings even more. Right? So for this particular game, we're going to look at a game today after, you know, I was feeling a little bit better, things were going well. I felt like overall I was playing well, my decision making was a little bit better. My macro was definitely much better. So let's take a look at this game. So again, we'll throw up the production tab, and just make sure I got myself back on track. Because the thing you're going to notice is I don't do anything different in this game. This is just, you know, a standard Hellion expand. That, funnily enough, I actually do mess up a little bit. I remember playing this game, or just my timing was kind of goofy, but it works. It actually worked out really well, for me anyway. All right, so I got my bunker up. I'm starting my wall in. This is looking good. Factory's getting switched over. I've got lots of Marines. Now, here's where my first major mistake shows up here. So my Hellions get rallied out. Now, unfortunately for the Zerg player I'm playing against, he doesn't target anything properly. And what should have been disastrous for me ends up with I lost 2 Marines and he lost 24 Zerglings. And all I do now is just repair my Hellions, send everything back to mine. Crisis is averted. However, in the background of that, I am getting, you know, I'm getting my stim research, I'm getting my next barracks up. My money's not super high. I'm taking my gas properly. You know, lots of very positive things. As my Hellions start to move out on the map, things are looking good. You can see double engineering bay coming down at a much better time. You know, I'm getting my reactor and my barracks. This looks better. So I have a little bit of a poke at my opponent, and decision making time. Now, here's what you keep in mind. In a situation like this, I am going to micro my Hellions. My macro is going to fall apart in the background because I simply won't be able to manufacture and put down all my barracks at the same time as controlling my Hellions. However, this is why this is the correct decision, and in the first game it was completely wrong and it was incorrect. There's a few reasons for that. Number one, my opponent lost a whole bunch of Zerglings early on, so chances are he doesn't want to make a bunch more. And he did no damage for that, so I am definitely way ahead. It's essentially 11 drones that he could have that he doesn't have, right? My opponent is also trying to take his third, which tells me that he's looking to drone up a little bit more. Whereas in the other game, my opponent wasn't taking his third. I could have denied it. In this case, I can't really deny his third. And you can see I've got widow mines and stuff moving out on the map. Everything looks a lot better. So my money is going to skyrocket, but I'm going to do a lot of damage. So again, I know he's not going to have very many links just because of his overall setup. It's still a dangerous play, but overall I felt like it was worth the risk just because he lost so many links. Even if these Hellions die, I can't really deny this. Hatchery because it's already up, and I've got a chance of essentially winning the game here. So he completely miscontrols his drones, although he kind of had to attack with them, but I think he was just frustrated at that point because he didn't have anything. He just spent a round on drones, I believe. One of my Hellions gets pinned off here, which, like, that's a win for him. But overall, lots of damage. Tons of damage comes out for me. Looking much better now. You can even see, even losing those Hellions, I just lost 4 Hellions, I still have 72 food. You know, 76. So I have 76 supply out of 78, even with losing my Hellions. And I have managed to throw down all my buildings. However, there's a few key differences here. Now, obviously I'm throwing down a whole bunch of barracks because that's what I need. I believe I also get my expansion up at the same time. But I didn't supply block. My food is really good. I'm sure I have lots of workers. See, 50 SCVs instead of like the 42 that I had in the other game, where I did the exact same play. You know, I need to start combat shield. That's a negative. My upgrades are better. Not too bad. Don't mind this at all, right? I did a ton of damage. I made the correct decision at the time, and I think that would be a correct decision in pretty much any instance. And overall, my back end is just way better. In that other game, I think I had something like 45 supply to back up that situation. You can see in this game, I have a whole bunch of Marines with my barracks, and I'm getting all my tech. Right, there's my command center. So overall, much better. Now, ideally, you don't want to do this. You would just use the Hellions to deny and throw those buildings up at a different time. In this particular circumstance, that was okay because I wanted to micro the Hellions to get the most out of them. And you can see it's 36 drones to 50 SCVs, and my opponent is actually just going to die shortly here. This kind of sucks for him. So the Widow Mines are here, and he brings the Overseer over, and it dies. And this Widow Mine moves. So, my opponent just GG's when these Marines show up because he doesn't have a defense because he's been trying to drone up. You can see 59 SCVs in just that little bit of extra time. Much better. You know, at 12:30 I'm going to have the 65 SCVs I'm looking for to fully saturate all my bases. And all I did to kind of adjust myself and get out of that slump is just go back and look at what my plans are and try to execute it a little bit better and pull yourself out. A lot of people come and they talk to me and they ask me all the time, like, how am I going to get out of this slump? I'm having lots of success with this build, and then all of a sudden it kind of stops working, right? Well, in a lot of cases, when you have a situation where a build is doing really good for you, and then it stops working all of a sudden, it's because you've developed bad habits that you've kind of gotten away with until you get to a higher level of player, and that's exactly what happened to me, where I was starting to develop bad habits. I was starting to miss SCVs. Just like I preach, you can't miss those SCVs, otherwise everything's going to fall apart, right? And it became very obvious where some of my flaws were starting to show up, right? So what I did before I played today is I just went and looked at a whole bunch of my replays and decided kind of, well, what's going on, like where are my problems? And I managed to win a whole bunch of games today and feel a lot better about the wins. I was even winning some games where, you know, my opponent would make a mistake and I was able to capitalize because my back end was so much better, whereas the day before my opponent would make a mistake and I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. You know, if I was playing like in the previous games, and that guy did that Zergling play, yeah, I might have got all the drones and stuff, but I just wouldn't have had the backhand to follow it up for the killing blow, and my opponent might have been able to come back in the game and eventually beat me. So hopefully that makes sense for everybody that's been watching this. Again, you just have to go back to your replays. You have to identify where your macro problems are. Decision making is a part of it, but you don't want to take too hard of a look at it, and you really don't want to be looking like into like the 30 or 40 minute games because those come with experience. You really only want to be looking at your first like 10 or 15 minutes of a game. Anything past that isn't that important, right? And make sure you're hitting all your marks, all your benchmarks, everything that you're kind of looking for in the early game. So hopefully, guys, this will kind of give you a little bit of an understanding as to sometimes why build works really well, and then it hits a wall and kind of stops working properly because you develop bad habits, and it's up to you to go in, check your replays, and kind of clean those bad habits out and kind of go right back to the basics and just focus on certain parts of your game. I like making workers. I'm a Masters player, and all the time I'm going back and checking to make sure I'm making enough workers, because as soon as I stop doing that and as soon as my macro falls apart, I'm not going to win games anymore. My micro is just not good enough to carry me, and it's really important that I'm able to make a lot of stuff. Anyway, guys, this is Filter StarCraft. Hopefully you enjoyed this particular video, and hopefully it was a good interlude before we start getting into some of the more advanced things with Terran, which will be coming up over the next week or so, and then maybe we'll do another race. But for right now, we're going to start looking at some more advanced things for Terran, and I hope you enjoyed this particular video. Anyway guys, have a good one. This is Filter StarCraft, and I will see you guys next time.